Career, 경례, feel, sun. Today, what we're going to be working on is going to be a little bit more relaxed. We're going to be focusing on some stretching. So we're going to see the routine that you could maybe use in the future, but we're going to start off with our forearms, our shoulders, triceps, all of this. We're going to move onto our back and our hips, and then we're going to end off with our legs. Okay, so for you, if you have a yoga mat, then that's going to help a lot. My knees tend to get hurt quite often if we're just doing it on the hard floor. So get some water and a yoga mat, and we'll see you in a bit. So what we're going to start off with is our wrists, and like wrists, forearms, and shoulders. So the reason why we want to also stretch our wrists is because when we are hitting lots of pads, and especially a heavy bag, then you want to make sure that you've warmed up and you've stretched a little bit of the tendons on all the muscles, especially in your hands and your wrists. You have lots of tiny muscles over here. So the first part, what you can do is, you're going to place your hands like this in front of you, put them over each other. You're going to intertwine your fingers, and then you're going to roll this over. So nice and slow, don't go too fast with this one, especially if your wrists aren't used to this. So you can just keep it over here for a couple of seconds, bring it back. You're going to bring it, just swap them over. So we're going to focus on the other hand, same thing, nice and slow. Okay, just like that. And back again. Now, a lot of people, what they like to do is grab the fingers, stretching your forearms, which you can do. One that I like to do is, I'll show you from the side, is to first place your fingers pointing forward, away from you. Now, what you're going to do is, you're going to be on your hands and knees, and you're going to slowly shift your weight forward. So this is putting some pressure on the wrists, and we're also stretching the forearms. And then once you're used to this, then you can slowly start rotating. Just like this. So don't go too far. So the more used to this you get, the more further you can go down. And you can go also other way around. So next up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be flipping our hands back. So this is like the stretch I was showing earlier. So your fingers are pointing back towards you. And what you can do is, very slowly, you're just going to try to sit down on your heels. So your wrists are just slightly lifting up off of yoga mat. So this is a very good stretch. Just like this. Okay. And next, what you can do is, you can point your fingers in towards each other, like this. So fingers in, same thing. Apply a bit of pressure, not too much, with your body weight. And this should be a very good stretch. You should feel it very quickly as soon as you apply some pressure. Okay, so yeah, that should be a good stretch just for the wrists. Now for the shoulders, we have some basic stretches like the arm rotations that we usually do at the start of the class. You can also do, not too sure what this one is called, but this one is also really good for the tricep and for the shoulders. Now if you want to do a stretch that helps you with your mobility, then you can stand next to a wall, just like this, so that your shoulder is slightly touching a wall. You're going to keep your body upright, and you are going to try and bring to a rotation, try and stay as close as you can to the wall, just like this. So you're going to bring it up, try to keep your arms straight, as straight as you can, all the way back. Let's do one more. Just like that. So this one you can do a couple of times. On the other side, same thing. So my arm is slightly touching the wall off my shoulder. So you can just do this one a couple of times. Let's do one more. Okay. So then from there, another one that's also really good is you're gonna curl your fingers in, thumbs out. So you're gonna point your thumbs towards your face and you're gonna be drawing circles like this. So it's almost like you're breathing in and out, and in and out, in and out, and out. And once you feel nice and warm, you can go opposite direction. So thumbs going out, out, and out. Just like this. Okay. So these are just some of the stretches that you can maybe add to your normal stretch routine. Or if you do them just these ones by themselves, then they're also very good to use to simply stretch a little bit. But these shouldn't be the only ones that you use before you want to do some heavy punching. Okay, so the next part we're going to move on to our hips and back. Okay, so the next part we're going to be moving on to the back and the hips. So the first one that I also discovered recently is for your spine. So usually what we do is we go into a hip rotation. So this one we could much rather refer to as a spine rotation. So you can put your hands on your hips like this. Your hips are going to be staying perfectly still. And all you're going to be doing is you're rotating your spine. You can go clockwise or anti-clockwise. So this one you can also stay nice and like up straight, and then you can determine how far you want to go down to the sides, and you can go other way around. So this one is also, this is a very nice stretch for your spine, especially for the lower back also, when you go around the back. Okay, so the next part, what we're going to be doing is, this one of the stretches that I usually do in my classes is, I've heard many different names of this one, but like a side lunge. So you can choose a side. You are going to point your toes, let's say towards the corners of the room, and you want to bend one knee, keeping your heel flat on the ground, this leg straight, hands out in front of you. And you want to go down as far as you can go. So this one is also very good to practice quite often, because if you skip a couple of days, then it becomes more difficult to get back into it again. So you're going to go down and back up again. Other side, same thing. Down and back up again. Okay. So next up, so what I'm going to be trying to show you is just a couple of exercises that you might not have tried before. We have two more. So the next one, this will definitely work much better with a yoga mat. So what I'm going to do is, if you've done yoga before, then you will definitely have seen this one. From what I remember, you have to keep your legs straight. So I'm going to bring my legs over, and I'm going to see how close I can get my knees to the ground over here. So this one is also amazing for your back. So you're going to bring this over, see if you can put your feet down, and then from here, slowly let your knees down. So nice and slow. So this one, so you should try this one very, very slowly. But if you keep it for about 10-20 seconds and you stand back up again, then your back feels amazing. It definitely helps a lot for the back. And then the last one is going to be butterfly pose. So for this one, when I started doing this one, then my knees were round about over here, and slowly but surely every day sitting against a wall like this, pushing down, 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 down. Then you can try and push it all the way until you can touch the ground with your knees. So after a while, then you can sit watching TV on your phone, anything like that. So this is also really good for your hips. Okay, so try this one at home. Also very important. And the longer you keep it, then sometimes it does hurt. It feels like you did some strength training as soon as you stand up again, or the next day. So you do want to close, not too fast, nice and slow, before you stand up. Okay, cheerio. 경례, Bill, San. Okay. So next up, we're gonna move down to our legs. So legs are very, very important, as we tend to do a lot of footwork, a lot of kicks. If you don't stretch your legs, especially your hamstrings properly, then you can maybe pull muscle or injure yourself. So this is very, very important. So earlier what we did was we stretched our hips, which was very important, like the hip flexors. Next up, the easy one, we're going to stretch the hamstrings. Everybody knows how to simply keep your legs straight. Try and keep your back as straight as you can. Don't round your back like this, because then you are stretching your back, lower back more than your hamstrings. So you want to keep your back as flat as you can while you're trying to go down and touch your toes. If this one's easy, then you can put one foot over the other foot, but you're spreading your weight across both feet so you don't lose your balance. And then once again, you can go down, touching your toes, rounding my back a bit. But same thing on the other side. Go down and touch your toes. This one's a good burn. At the back. Okay, so for the next one, what you're going to do is, so there's two ways that we can do this one. So let's start off from also one of my favorite stretches. You're going to have your, let's say your left foot out to the side, and you're going to try and go down. So this is a side kick position. So you're going to try and go down and touch your ankle. So this one also try to go nice and slow. Don't go too fast, because if you go too fast, then you're going to start cramping up over here in your wrist. So you just want to go down, try to touch your ankle. It's very, very good. And then the next one is this leg that's bent. You're going to push forward. So there are two things that you can do. One, you can either point your foot at about 45 degrees for the beginning to make it easy, or you can do a full 90 degrees, which is a little bit difficult. You're going to bring your hip over, and the foot that's in the back is pointing straight backwards. So for here, what you want to do is you want to look up and you're pushing down with your hips. You should feel a stretch over here, also in your hip flexor, and then inside of your hamstrings. Then from here you can lay down. And while you're doing this, try to keep breathing. Wherever you feel tension, then try to release that tension. And then we're going to grab the hind leg like this. Try and make yourself into a pretzel. And relax. And then you can try the same thing with the other leg. Okay. So like I said, these exercises, there is not a full routine yet. You can add them into your usual stretches. So it is important sometimes to change your stretching routine. Chirip, 경례, Bill, Sam. Okay, so I hope that today you saw a couple of stretches that you haven't tried before. Stretching is very, very important. It's something that you need to do every day. Now, what we do have is, we have the two different types of stretches. We have dynamic stretches, which means stretching while we're moving, and then we have static stretches. So the static stretches are the ones that we did today, which is where you hold a position and you can count for, let's say, longer than 10 to 15 seconds when you're holding this position. So this we'll call static stretch. So static stretch is also not always an indicator of how flexible you are with your kicks and your punches. Because sometimes someone can do a split when they're doing a static stretch, but if you ask them to do a side kick straight up, then it's a different story. Okay. And sometimes we get people that they're not that flexible. Let's say we're trying to do a split, but maybe when they do a side kick or a front, like a high front kick or a downward kick, then they can actually, through the movement, they can stretch a little bit higher. So static stretches you want to try and do at the end of your exercise so that you prevent any stiffness for the next day or any injury. Dynamic stretches are the stretches that when we move, usually at the beginning of the class, then we do a lot of dynamic stretches. This also helps to warm up the muscles, and also once again it helps you to prevent any injuries. And you want to do this at the beginning of the exercise. So yeah, these are very important, and hopefully you get to add some of these stretches into your routine. Okay, so if you have any more questions, then you can just let us know about stretching. Laat je weer. Jongne, Bill, Sam.